race to take place here in Portimao, of course, including the Algarve Grand Prix in 2021. 4.6 kilometres in length, 2.85 miles. What a spectacular venue. Some of the most jaw-dropping undulation on the whole calendar. A 970-metre straight following a real high-speed, fast fourth gear right-hander through turn 15. A dramatic plunge downhill into turns 1 and 5, hard braking zones there. Good overtaking opportunities, which we'll see shortly also around this Portimao circuit. Top speeds, they will reach about 350 kilometres an hour down the 6-gear start-finish straight. Careful though to manage that rear tyre through the final corner of turn 15. But 1, 3, 5 and 13, good overtaking hot spots. 18 months ago at the start of 2024, there was this rather controversial collision involving Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez. Well, our first ever sprint took place here in Portimao back in 2023. That was some special occasion, and yesterday's 12-lapper here in the penultimate round of 2025 delivered something special once again. A poor start from the second row of the grid for Pecco Bagnaia saw him eventually drop down towards the back end of the point-scoring places. At the front, it was the sprint of the season. Pedro Acosta, Alex Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi delivering some heart-stopping action around this incredible Portimao circuit. Eventually at the checker flagging what was our closest sprint in over a year between the top two. Alex Marquez taking the spoils for just his 4th ever sprint victory, 2nd of the season, 1st since the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. More heroics on the factory KTM by Acosta. That was his 10th sprint podium finish yesterday. 19 podiums in his MotoGP career, but still winless is Acosta. And time is running out for him to break that winning duck, isn't it, in 2025, with just 2 Grand Prix to go. Once again, starting from pole position will be factory Aprilia star Marco Bezzecchi. Can he try and overhaul the 2 rapid Spaniards ahead of him at the end of that thrilling sprint here yesterday? 25 laps is due to be the full distance today in MotoGP in what is a slightly tweaked schedule. As I'm sure you're now fully aware, we've already kicked off with Moto2. No spoilers here in the commentary box. As we get now ready for our coverage of MotoGP. That's going to be underway at 1 p.m. local time here in Portimao. Our race day schedule, well, that will be completed by what is always a pretty hectic battle in Moto3. Good to see so many Portuguese fans have gathered here in the Algarve International Circuit for one very good reason. Of course, they are all here for an emotional day as far as home hero Miguel Oliveira is concerned. World Superbike bound with the official BMW factory team next year is Oliveira. 5 years ago, of course, our first ever visit to Portimao. Oliveira prevailed on that day, an unforgettable day, the day he became the first Portuguese rider ever to win in the MotoGP World Championship. We've known for quite some time, haven't we, that our absent world champion, Marc Marquez, out for the remainder of 2025, is our new world champion. We know, or we realised in Sepang last time out, Alex Marquez has secured 2nd overall in the standings. Game on, though, in terms of 3rd place, who will need to bring a suit to the gala in Valencia in 7 days' time. Marco Bezzecchi in the ascendancy in that particular battle, 10 points clear of Pecco Bagnaia. Don't discount Pedro Acosta, though, who is only 19 behind the factory Ducati rider. Alex Marquez is looking to complete his 1st ever double win in the MotoGP World Championship on an emotional day for Portuguese motorsports. 25 laps then coming up in about 40 minutes time in the company of Matt Burt, Lewis Levy in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Sun is shining, it's very pleasant temperatures for this sort of early autumn down on the Algarve coast. And if we get anything like we saw the drama in yesterday's sprint, Lewis, an epic fight between Alex Marquez, Pedro Acosta and Marco Bezzecchi, this 25 laps should be some treat.
A tough act to follow, but they will give it a good go. Portimao delivered for the 2nd time in 3 years an epic sprint yesterday. Of course, he kicked off the sprint era a couple of years ago with an absolute barnstorm. You could argue yesterday's was even better as Pedro Acosta threw the kitchen sink at Alex Marquez. Unable in the end to quite beat him to victory. But I guess if Pedro Acosta were to take a first victory, where better to take it than on Grand Prix Sunday. He goes from the front row of the grid for the first time this season. Contenders course across the front two rows, including each of the three riders fighting for third in the World Championship. Pedro Acosta, of course, is one of those. He's 19 points behind Pecco Bagnaia, who's 10 points behind our pole sitter, Marco Bezzecchi.
Today is Grand Prix number 92 since KTM last won a dry MotoGP race. Is today Pedro Acosta's chance to be KTM's first dry Grand Prix winner since it was Miguel Oliveira, one of his 5 KTM successes at the Catalan Grand Prix in Barcelona in 2021. This guy on screens at the moment, probably running better than anybody else in the MotoGP World Championship. He is a miracle worker, as mentioned in the sprint yesterday. This was the exit of turn 8, being pursued by the helicopter. Well, he was flying at times, wasn't he? The number 37 was not quite able to resist Alex Marquez. Maybe if there was another one lap, if that sprint yesterday was a 13-lap sprint, it might have had a different outcome. But make no mistake, Pedro Acosta is getting tired of being asked when will he be a MotoGP race winner for the first time. Is today his day? He's got a great shout, no question about it. He was a star performer here last year in just his second ever MotoGP start. He's in the mix, no question. If he continues to sort of defy the odds on that RC16, well, he's going to be a proper pain in Portimao for Marquez and Bezzecchi and co.
Let's head down to pit lane then. Of course, this Grand Prix takes place without Marc Marquez, but there was still some Marquez family success yesterday. This was Alex Marquez finally getting the better of Pedro Acosta. Let's head down to Jack Appiado, who's in pit lane with the manager of the Marquez clan, Jimmy Martinez.
Yeah, just another success in what has been a memorable 2025 for both Marc and Alex yesterday. Sprint success, a new BMW car to add to it as well for Marc. Jimmy, having been on the inside, just how much has this season meant to Marc, Alex and all of the family?
I mean, you can imagine, no? We are extremely happy. This is the first time ever that happens in history. I mean, they are two brothers that they supported each other on the highs and lows, and it's really special. So, as you can imagine, it's really emotional for every one of us.
Of course, there'll be lots of fans at home interested to know how Marc's recovery is. So how is he at the moment?
Yeah, the recovery is going well, step by step. We are following closely all the doctors, advices, and we are really just going on the timing that we have to go. But yeah, everything is evolving really good.
Has he got an idea when he might be able to get back on a motorcycle again to start preparing for next season?
I mean, that depends more on the doctors, For sure, we will, just be aware that it's an injury, as every injury, that you need to really be patient. And as soon as the doctors give us the green light, he will jump on a bike. He's for sure every day trying to improve and trying to make that injury much better and better. But yeah, I think it's soon he will be back on the bike.
That's great to hear. Of course, next weekend, the season finale, there's a lot of things going on. There's the gala on Sunday night. We're officially going to crown him world champion. Of course, a massive test on Tuesday as well. Is Marc going to be making the trip?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Marc will for sure will be in Valencia. I think we still need to celebrate properly such an achievement. So yeah, he will be there.
That's great to hear. We look forward to catching up with him there. Thanks, Jimmy, and good luck in this one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Thanks as always to manager of both Marc and Alex, Jimmy Martinez. So the good news, fans that are attending next weekend's Grand Prix in Valencia. Sadly, Marc Marquez will not be present on circuit, but he will be on site cheering on his brother Alex, cheering on the factory Ducati team, and he will be then at the special awards gala, I believe, on Sunday night to celebrate his return to prominence, his return to glory in the MotoGP World Championship. It was always going to be an emotional weekend, wasn't it, Lewis? For Miguel Oliveira. Great memories. Best memory of his career when he won the Portimao battle here in 2020. Such a shame it was in the pandemic and there was no home fans to roar him on. KTM's most successful Grand Prix rider, one of a handful of riders that's won races in Moto3, Moto2 and in MotoGP. And he's, as we saw from those pictures, he's bowing out in style.
Yeah, getting some final pre-race words of comfort or words of instructions from his a better half and from his daughter. But either way, this is going to be a Grand Prix that Miguel Oliveira is going to want to try and enjoy as much as possible. Of course, it hasn't been the most enjoyable of 2025 seasons. He said the most emotionally got through this weekend was yesterday on the grid before the sprint, when his former Tech 3 team manager Hervé Poncharal came and wished him some good luck. Of course, it was Oliveira who gave Poncharal his first MotoGP victory with Tech 3. Alex Marquez then takes his place in the box as he gets ready to take his place on the second row of the grid, which means he's going to have to produce some more overtakes like this one to take victory today.
Class ride, wasn't it, by Alex? He really did have to dig deep. Fourth sprint victory of his career. That certainly was the one he had to work the hardest for. Marco Bezzecchi there was just keeping a watching brief in third place, wasn't he, behind the two Spaniards for most of that sprint, having done the early leading. It was show you what a good sprint he was yesterday. It was the first time since the Italian Grand Prix sprint in Mugello we had three different leaders in the sprint Saturday afternoon action. Eventually it would be Alex Marquez leading at the most crucial time, taking the checker flag just under a tenth and a half. He was eventually clear of Pedro Acosta. This is Pedro Acosta making that KTM as wide as he possibly could. Not only is he awesome at attacking Acosta, but he's so good at defending as well. In the new Sprint Grand Prix era, there has been 27 winning doubles. Alex has not yet completed one of them. Marc Marquez, 10 winning doubles, that's Sprint and Grand Prix on the same weekend. Pecco Bagnaia, 9, Jorge Martin, 5, and one apiece for Maverick Vinales, Leija Spargaro, and Enea Bastianini. And Alex joined that exclusive club here today.
Well, Pedro Acosta isn't the only obstacle to that. Here is another. Marco Bezzecchi, certainly going to be an obstacle because he starts from pole position for this Portuguese Grand Prix. He has been, in many respects, the rider of the second half of the season, but hasn't won a Grand Prix in the second half of the season. His success has all come on Saturdays, both in qualifying and in the sprints. Did a lot of the hard work, we thought, yesterday when he kept Pedro Acosta behind him off the line, but ultimately just did not have the speed to attack them. He only had the speed to stay with the top two.
Pecco Bagnaia, who knows the merits of Fabio Quartararo as a top-level MotoGP rider. Of course, those two had so many great battles in the early part of their MotoGP career, fighting for the titles in 2021 and 2022. Bagnaia heaping praise on Fabio Quartararo after his brilliant job throughout Sprint Saturday, through Q1, fastest ahead of Jack Miller, putting that Yamaha on the front row for the 10th time in 2025. And then, on what is clearly an inferior motorcycle, let's not beat around the bush here, that Yamaha is not at the level of Aprilia, Ducati, and in many respects, KTM. Yet once again, he got the magic wand out, didn't he, Quartararo? And Bagnaia just said he was awesome. He was absolutely phenomenal. Well, almost 8,000 kilometres. I think that's the moment when Fabio Quartararo, I think somebody got a nice souvenir from Fabio in Portimao 2024, it looks like.
Which was a memento at their wedding by the looks of it. So Fabio Quartararo at least there in spirit. Also good to see there as he made his way back into the Yamaha box. No obvious signs of discomfort with his left shoulder, which it looked like he tweaked earlier on this morning in the warm-up, where he had quite a violent head shake coming out of turn 5 and was stretching that shoulder out. Jack noticed a bit of a grimace from Fabio when he took his helmet off this morning. Clearly some treatment or just a little bit of R&R since this morning's warm-up session, and Fabio is fit to go this afternoon.
Best sprint in 6 Grand Prix since his Catalunya podium. It is those 70 Grand Prix, 71 today, since we last saw Quartararo on the top step of the podium, Sachsenring 2022, which is an awful long time ago, isn't it? Well, it was always been every day since we arrived here in Portimao, since we touched down here for this Grand Prix on the Algarve coast. It's been an emotional affair as far as Miguel Oliveira is concerned. He was always going to dominate so many headlines. Let's get the thoughts today from the Prima Pramac Yamaha camp. Gino Borsoi joins Jack.
Yeah, as you said this morning, guys, Miguel feeling the emotion on the grid yesterday. I imagine even more so today. I can see his dad just chatting to him over our right-hand shoulder with a nice special T-shirt on with Miguel as a kid there as well. It's, yeah, an emotional day, Gino. How was Miguel this morning?
For sure, it's not an easy moment for him, not an easy moment for the team, because we know it's a really important day for Miguel, and we wanna, let's say, see Miguel on top and fighting for a good race, a good position. We had the chat before the start of the race before, and he's really nervous. You know, it's a great moment, but on the other side also it's, let's say, not so happy because after a lot of years here in MotoGP, now he have to say hello to his fans, to our paddock. He loved this paddock. But anyway, it is what it is. Only you have to put all the effort and make a good race for all of us.
Absolutely. It's been a challenging weekend. We were able to find anything during the sprint and this morning to see him make a little bit of progress during this Grand Prix?
Yeah, we made a progress, honestly speaking. Yesterday during the sprint, we made some adjustment. I think from the Friday where we suffered a lot, we made a step. And I'm pretty sure he can get a good race today.
That's great news. All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's hope that there is something for Miguel Oliveira to smile about as he says goodbye for the time being to his home crowd. Pecco Bagnaia. Never really saw him as a podium threat at all, did we, in that 12-lap sprint yesterday? And he reported afterwards, as he tried to go away with Marquez, with Acosta and with Bezzecchi, just used up too much of that soft rear tyre in the early part of the sprint, and then said at the end he had non-existent rear grip, and that's why he got picked off by both Johann Zarco and by the fast-finishing Fermin Aldeguer at the checkered flag. What a finish this was by Aldeguer. Just shortly before this, he made a real aggressive move to take 7th away from Zarco, and then over the line he pinched it by a whisker. Just look at this, at a bike length between Zarco, Bagnaia and Aldeguer. Aldeguer starting the last lap in 8th and finishing in P6 and going the opposite way. Bagnaia starting the last lap in P6 and then ending it in P8. Surprised to see Pecco Bagnaia get picked off in the 4th sector by 2 of his rivals. I guess a clear indication he just had no drive grip, no edge grip as well, going through 14 and 15. No momentum as he came on to the start-finish straight because Aldeguer and Zarco picked him off there with relative ease.
Yeah, we've got double the distance to come this afternoon, although we are expecting the vast majority, if not everybody, to go hard front, medium rear. The vast majority, with the exception, I think, of Sonket Chantry yesterday, went for the hard front, soft rear, so everyone going up a step in terms of rear tyre compound. Is that going to bring Bagnaia slightly closer into contention, going from the second row of the grid? Needs a big result today, Bagnaia, if he is to finish 3rd in the World Championship. Of course, with that puncture in Malaysia when he was on course to extend his advantage over Bezzecchi, ended up falling behind him. He now trails by 10 points with 2 Grand Prix and 1 sprint to go.
And that's the thing, people have been saying, well, Bagnaia 4th would be a shocking result by his normally high standards. Well, it's not a given, he'll secure 4th because 19 points behind him is Pedro Acosta in 5th. As this was a pretty tough and painful debut in MotoGP yesterday for Nicolo Bulega, double World Superbike runner-up in 2024 and 2025 behind Toprak Razgatlioglu. In for the injured Marc Marquez in the factory Ducati garage, and he just said that was riding a Desmos GP25 too much like a World Superbike machine. In particular, the massive difference in performance and feeling you get from the Michelin tyres in MotoGP compared to the Pirellis. Just a crash in straight up and down braking, catching out Nicolo Bulega. The good news is he escaped with just a few bumps and bruises, because aside from that spill in the sprint, he had shown very, very impressive pace from the get-go here in Portimao.
He was ahead of Pecco Bagnaia in free practice 1 on Friday morning, even if Bagnaia had some issues having gone for the wrong front tyre. Bulega was roughly a second off the pace on Friday, which is, I think, way ahead of the expectations that would have been realistically put on his shoulders. Here's Jack Miller, who goes from 8th place on the grid. He's had a bit of a side bet this weekend with Joan Mir, as they've been challenging each other to produce the best possible jump right here on the exit of turn 8. Jack challenged Joan to a jump off yesterday morning. I still think Jack's edging it.
Yeah, this is first class for Miller Airways, isn't it? No question about it. He didn't get a gold medal in the sprint yesterday, but I think in terms of gold medals for airtime this weekend in Portimao, we can safely say it's Jack Miller that takes the victory ahead of Joan Mir. There's been a couple of rides actually been trying to get into the fight, haven't they, for the airtime over turn 8. Just a little footnote as well about 26-year-old Italian Nicolo Bulega. Today he does make his 100th Grand Prix start, his first, of course, in MotoGP. A 100th Grand Prix start, which I think just a few years ago, might have felt would never actually happen after his career stumbled into a real cul-de-sac at the end of 2021 when he got bombed out of Moto2 after 2 brutally difficult years in the Moto2 World Championship. Of course, such a hot young prospect when he was picked up by the VR46 Academy around 2015-2016 time. As we mentioned so often throughout this weekend, more power, more kudos to Buliga, who has rebuilt his career very successfully over in the World Superbike paddock, World Supersport champion, twice a runner-up in World Superbikes. It looks like his destination 2027, if things continue as are, that he will be on this grid full-time in a couple of years.
And he's the red-hot favourite for next year's World Superbike Championship, of course staying with the Aruba Ducati team, and his big rival over the last 2 years, Toprak Razgatlioglu, is heading in our direction to MotoGP next season. We'll see him publicly on a MotoGP bike for the first time in just a week and a half's time in Valencia, the Tuesday after the Grand Prix there. He is this weekend, though, testing a MotoGP bike, a Yamaha, in Aragon, behind closed doors, so his public debut is to come in just over a week's time. Buliga, he's going to play an integral role, whether he's on the grid or not in 2027. He's going to play an integral role in just what kind of Ducati we see in 2027 with his Pirelli experience.
Yeah, Buliga didn't beat Toprak to World Superbike glory this year, but he did beat him to his MotoGP debut as the overhead helicopter, which of course brings you all of our wonderful aerial shots of this wonderful Portimao circuit. So this is the MotoGP cycling lap underway. Marco Bezzecchi. Just get the impression from a Pirelli and from Bez himself that it's been too long, given the potential that they've had, to go without a victory since that British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Phillip Island, you felt, was a real opportunity that he lost, having had to have taken the double long lap for the Marquez contact in Mandalika. Mandalika was clearly a bit of a missed goal as far as Aprilia and Bezzecchi were concerned. He'd been so good that weekend in Indonesia, on pole position when it all went horribly wrong, and unfortunately involved in the crash which prematurely ended the season for the world champion.
Marc Marquez, as confirmed by his manager to Jack moments ago, coming to Valencia next weekend. We look forward to seeing the world champion once again. Of course, his recovery will not be rushed, given what has happened to him over the years. As you look overhead, doesn't quite do the undulation justice, that does it? The overhead shot from the helicopter of this Portimao circuit. They do term it the roller coaster for good reason. You are constantly going up and down this, really the only flat part of the circuit, the grid and main straight, before you plunge downhill for turn one, which is going to be so crucial in the outcome of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, I bet these guys have had a light lunch, because there's some stomach churning undulation around this Algarve International Circuit. Miguel Oliveira, 5 times MotoGP winner. He refused to say that this was the end in terms of MotoGP for him, in terms of a full-time ride. When I spoke to him in the pre-event press conference on Thursday, and I think Oliveira recognises now that at the age of 30, it's very hard to get back into this paddock once you have left it. But there's an exciting new adventure beckoning, of course, joining Danilo Petrucci in the official BMW World Superbike team next year. Lots of messages of thanks and support here this weekend for Oliveira, as we get the parachute display team dropping in. That's some view, isn't it, of the Algarve International Circuit? Not sure I've really got the stomach for that myself,
no,
personally. But yeah, that's a spectacular shot. As you can see, the MotoGP logo there underneath the Portuguese flag parachutes.
Yeah, and they have packed themselves into this circuit today to give Miguel Oliveira, well, I call it a send-off. It's a send-off from MotoGP at home. Of course, the World Superbike Championship do also come to Portimao, so he will be racing here again next season in his BMW commitment. So they certainly haven't seen the last of their home hero and their idol here. Marco Bezzecchi then onto pole position. You can see there that run of podiums he's had in the second half of this season, but still no victory since the British Grand Prix that was really handed to him by that problem for Fabio Quartararo. That's a run he will want to end today.
Well, there was a lot more potential than what the official Honda team showed in yesterday's sprint. Luca Marini paying for missing out on Q2. Joan Mir with an unfortunate clutch issue, denying him the chance to fight for the podium from the third row of the grid. Let's hope it's a better Sunday for HRC. What's the boss thinking? Alberto Pujas with Jack.
Yeah, of course, it's 2 podiums in the last 4 Grand Prix for Joan, but having had that technical problem yesterday, Alberto is the big unknown coming into this. So what is his potential today?
I really think that he can do a good race. The pace is good, the bike is performing good for him. He was happy this morning. Of course, yesterday we had this problem, but I think if he has a good start, because sometimes he's not doing them, but if he has a good start, he has chances to be in a good group. I mean, I mean, it's true that there are 3 guys very fast this weekend, but let's see where. I don't see him really far from them, but you never know.
For Johan as well, just 1 place ahead in 6. It's been a really solid weekend so far. It feels as though it's come at a really crucial moment as well. He's had some struggles, but feels as though he's found his momentum this weekend.
Yeah, it looks like he had a little struggle in the last races, some crashes, unfortunate crashes, but today I think he can be, these 2 guys can be in, let's say, maybe not with the top guys, but near, both of them.
Good luck, Alberto.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, as always, to Alberto Puig. Yeah, a shame we didn't really get to see what Joan Mir's potential was in that 12-lap sprint yesterday. That clutch issue, well, it was podium hopes over on lap 1 before it even really started for Mir. As Alberto Puig just mentioned there, it's a big ask to be in that podium battle once again, as he was in Japan and in Malaysia recently, given the fact that Alex Marquez, Pedro Acosta and Marco Bezzecchi have been the cream of the crop pace-wise throughout this weekend. But Mir, he has had a couple of podiums previously here himself in Portimao as the parachutist dropped down onto the grid. That's pinpoint accuracy for you, isn't it?
Yeah, Luca Marini, once again, a victim of a heavyweight qualifying 1 yesterday. He was unfortunately in a Q1 that involved Bagnaia and Aldeguer last time out in Malaysia, and this time around, of course, he was in with the Yamahas of Quartararo and Miller, who he navigated his way through. That's 2 safely back on terra firma as this grid ceremony continues. Portimao, which has been a part of this Grand Prix calendar since 2020. It's our 6th year now coming to Portimao, and of course our 7th Grand Prix held here after our double visit in 2021.
20th time Portugal has hosted a MotoGP. Let's go down to another Saturday hero, Fabio Quartararo, front right of the grid, 4th over the light in the sprint, the Frenchman with Jack.
Yeah, it was a brilliant day yesterday for Fabio, really turned it around from Friday. Big question, what's possible today?
I have no idea what is possible, but at least I will give my maximum. We know that after Moto2, the first 5-6 laps is going to be difficult for us. So let's hope to not burn the tires, have a great start, and then we will see how the tire is going.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Fabio Quartararo, a winner of the Portuguese round in 2021 from pole position, and he was also a winner in 2022 from 5th. No top 6 though in the last 2. Thanks as always to Fabio for having a little chat with Jack, as very shortly we'll run through a grid which will feature Marco Bezzecchi on pole position and Pedro Acosta on the front row for the first time this year.
And Fabio Quartararo next to them, having come through qualifying 1. Hard for a medium rear for the front row. We're expecting that across the grid. Pecco Bagnaia lines up 4th. He had a poor start yesterday. Can he recover today? Alex Marquez 5th ahead of Johan Zarco. At the top, Honda ahead of Joan Mir, Jack Miller and Fabio Di Gianantonio. Pol Espargaro once again through the Q2, 4th time in a row with that KTM that he's made Q2. He's got Aldeguer and Agura next to him, the rookies on row 4. Luca Marini 13th ahead of Brad Binder, who came through to the points in the sprint yesterday, and Franco Morbidelli. On the 6th row behind Frankie, we have Enea Bastianini, Alex Rins and the debutant Nicolo Buliga. Miguel Oliveira's final Portuguese Grand Prix as a regular from 19th ahead of Lorenzo Salvatore and Somkhiat Chantra. 21 start because of the withdrawal yesterday of Raul Fernandez. Raul is now speaking on the grid with Jack.
Yeah, great to be down here with Raul. Obviously, huge shame you're not out there on the grid. How are you?
Now I feel much better, but it's true that on Friday I had a very big crash and I felt super bad with the shoulder because I have a luxation on the shoulder. So it means that the recovery is minimum 3-4 days. That maybe to think to race here was possible with a lot of painful, but we were thinking more on Valencia and try to be there to make the test on Tuesday. It will be very important, and at the end we were thinking a lot on Valencia and especially on Valencia test.
Yeah, that's great news that we'll hopefully see you in Valencia. Of course, I'm sure you'll want to be out there, but looking at what we saw in the sprint yesterday, Marco, Alex, Pedro all look to be on a really high level. What do you think we might see in this Grand Prix?
Well, I don't know. I saw that here everything is very close. So for us, the important thing is that Marco can fight for the victory. Anyway, for sure will be a very nice race for all of you. So also for me, I feel super strained because yesterday I was on track, and when I saw the race on track, was quite frustrated. But anyway, we found a lot of on my recovery. Anyway, for sure you will enjoy the race.
Great to see you, and hopefully you're fully fit for Valencia, Raul.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Good to hear from Raul Fernandez. So still a chance that we'll see him next weekend in Valencia. Of course, a crucial test to come following that. Just listen to the noise as they whip up an atmosphere for Miguel Oliveira as he returns to the grid in Portimao in MotoGP for the last time. Spine-tingling experience for Miguel as thousands of his countrymen and women wish him well. Paolo Pavesio there just off to the side, as well as Gino Borsoi wishing Miguel Oliveira well as the pre-Grand Prix ceremony is now in full flow. He will be setting sail to victory in just under 15 minutes time when this Portuguese Grand Prix gets underway. 25 laps ahead of us. Third in the World Championship, the big issue still to be decided. That will not be decided today, with 37 points still to fight for in Valencia next weekend. But Marco Bezzecchi from pole looking to stretch out that 10-point advantage over Pecco Bagnaia.
So very different and rather spectacular pre-race ceremony we're getting here with the Portimao and the Portuguese traditions. Miguel Oliveira, of course, will be joining the grid very, very soon. Let's go down and get some thoughts from Pedro Acosta's crew chief, Paul Trevathan. What a performance he produced in the sprint yesterday. Can he repeat it again in the Grand Prix? Paul, here's with Jack.
Yeah, absolute brilliance from Pedro yesterday. So close to victory. Can he go one better today, Paul?
I mean, we're going to give it 100%, that's for sure. You know, the way he's been riding lately, he's getting more and more confidence in himself and the machine, and he's going to give it everything. You know, this is clear. That's his style at the moment, and if he's got the package underneath him, then I think we can get it. What's
going to be the key? It looks as though these top three have got a jump on everybody else, so how is he going to get the better of Marco and Alex?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's the double of the race yesterday, of course, a different rear tyre. It's going to be getting that feeling with the tyre, making sure it's working, keeping that all under control, and then, yeah, just using your strong points, you know, so this is the point. It's going to be a mad race, I think.
We hope so. Good luck.
Okay, cheers, Felix.
That's Paul Trevathan's prediction then. Boss or crew chief to Pedro Acosta. A mad race in store. It was certainly hectic. It was certainly a mad sprint, wasn't it, yesterday? Those 12 laps, some of the best 12 laps we've had of 2025. We've had some good ones, haven't we? As on his own, enjoying this pre-race ceremony is Miguel Oliveira. Just his chance, I'm sure, just to gather his thoughts, think through his mind what has been a fantastic Grand Prix career. This will be Miguel's 245th Grand Prix start as the Oliveira family then gathered on the grid. Let's go back down then onto the grid with Jack.
Yeah, got Massimo Rivola with me, of course, of the Aprilia concern, as Marco Bezzecchi just walks past me. Obviously, right in the fight for victory today, Massimo. How do you think the race is going to play out?
Let's see the start, and this morning we saw a very good pace from Marco with the medium tires rear. Looks good, but I'm sure that Pedro will attack from the first meter to the last one, and we know that Alex is quite fast here. So I think those three is supposed to be the one to fight for the podium. I think Pecco could be also another one. Let's hope to have a first clean lap and then fight.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks as always to Aprilia boss Massimo Rivola. Of course, in his previous 244 Grand Prix starts, 115 in MotoGP, he has been part of the Aprilia family as Miguel Oliveira. Yeah, this is very, very emotional, isn't it, as far as the 30-year-old is concerned. He's getting applause from all of his peers here. As mentioned, he is, it's all got a little bit too much for Miguel. 245th Grand Prix start coming up shortly. He is a superstar in this part of the world. He is one of their own. He is their hero. Of course, this country blessed by the footballing genius of Cristiano Ronaldo. And at times it has felt like only Cristiano Ronaldo in this Portuguese nation has been more popular than Miguel Oliveira, who got his own special chances and special farewell here on the grid, and now he'll come through his rivals. George Villegas, of course, the FIM president, who embraces Miguel, his current Prima Pramac Yamaha colleague.
Heróis do mar, nobre povo, nação valente e imortal, levantai hoje de novo o esplendor de Portugal. Entre as brumas da memória, ó pátria, sente-se a voz dos teus egrégios avós, que há de guiar-te à vitória. As armas, sobre a terra, sobre o mar. As armas, pela pátria lutar, contra os canhões marchar.
A beautiful rendition then of the Portuguese national anthem. Let's go down immediately back onto the grid. Alex Marquez seeking his first ever sprint and Grand Prix win double. He's got a bit of work to do once again from the second row of the grid, but he was awesome, wasn't he, in the sprint yesterday? Let's get his thoughts. Michele Massini with Jack.
Yeah, you feel that's going to be the absolute key to this Grand Prix. Coming from the second row of the grid, he made the good start yesterday. He has to do it again, I imagine, Michele.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think that if we can start like yesterday, and we'll try to lead the group immediately, we can manage very well the rear medium tire, but of course we have to see. And I think that they also always Pecco and Bezzecchi, I think also Pedro today will fight for the victory like yesterday, and then I hope to enjoy the race.
We saw, as usual yesterday, a great late race pace by Firmin. Is he one to watch in this?
Yeah, I think that if he made a great start, we can arrive at the podium, because he's really strong with the medium tire always. But so the crucial will be the turn 1, turn 2, and then we see.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Never had a Grand Prix podium here previously as Alex Marquez. There's another lovely embrace between Hervé Poncharal and Miguel Oliveira. Of course, they work together at Tech 3 KTM. Both of them have lived through some unforgettable moments, haven't they, as Paulo Oliveira, Miguel's father. What a proud moment I'm sure it is for him as well. It's the end of MotoGP, still not the end of his racing career as far as the 30-year-old's concerned, as he heads over to pastures new in World Superbikes next season. Alex Marquez, just for reference, trying to be the 14th rider in the current four-stroke era to win back-to-back Grand Prix. Not too many Spaniards have done it before him. Marc Marquez, of course, Roy Lorenzo, Dani Pedrosa, Sepe Zibernau and Maverick Vinales, who unfortunately, while we're looking at jets and thinking about Top Gun, Maverick Vinales once again no longer with us, or no longer here this weekend, as he recovers from his serious left shoulder injury. We're hoping that Maverick will be back next weekend in Valencia. His place once again going to Pol Espargaro. Nicola Billig, of course, we've covered that off. He's replacing Marc Marquez. Lorenzo Savadori here once again in for the injured Jorge Martin. We're expecting some news very, very shortly as well, aren't we? And whether Jorge Martin will be fit and ready to return to action for the first time since the Motegi sprint.
Yeah, we've missed the number one on track. It has been a nightmare title defence for Jorge Martin, who of course did win this Grand Prix last year when the special one, Jose Mourinho, waved the checkered flag for him as he left the Marquez Bagnaia chaos in his wake to claim victory. Well, Paul Trevathan, crew chief to Pedro Acosta, is expecting a mad race at the front of this Grand Prix. 25 potentially mad laps ahead of us then. And if it is anything like as good as the sprint we saw yesterday, these are going to be 25 must not miss laps.
And as Alex Marquez's team boss Michele Massini said, they know the danger that Pedro Acosta will pose in this Grand Prix. Nothing to lose, has he really, Acosta? He can just try and secure this elusive first victory in the MotoGP World Championship. This is start number 40 in MotoGP. I don't think too many of us thought that he would still be winless at this stage. Just look at that, how many sort of top fives he's been able to reel off. He's been supremely consistent, hasn't he, Acosta? When you look now, yesterday's sprint was his 4th sprint podium in the last 5. Recently he's been 2nd in Hungary, 2nd in Indonesia, 2nd in Malaysia. They're all Grand Prix, of course. Can he finally go one better and take KTM's first dry victory in 4.5 years?
Of course, chasing a first victory for Yamaha in 3.5 years is Fabio Quartararo. Feels like that might be a bridge too far for him, but don't put anything past the 2021 world champion. 4th place for him yesterday, which might be difficult to improve upon with the likes of Bagnaia and Alex Marquez behind him on the grid, who are surely going to aim to go forwards. 4 contenders you would expect for victory either side of Quartararo on the grid, 3 of whom are fighting for 3rd in the World Championship.
Alex Marquez, already Grand Prix victories this year in Jerez. What a moment that was for the Spanish rider. It's always a Spanish rider's dream to win in front of the mass ranks in Jerez. He was then victorious in front of his home crowd in Catalonia. And then his most recent victory, 1 of 3 he's taken so far in 2025, coming just 2 weeks ago at the Malaysian Grand Prix in Sepang. Late words of encouragement, embraces from Marco Bezzecchi's Aprilia crew. Your front row of the grid then for this penultimate round of 2025 here in MotoGP in Portimao. Fabio Quartararo's 10th front row start of the campaign. He's 3rd on the factory Yamaha. Pedro Acosta is today the day that he can finally be a MotoGP race winner, but leading the field away for what we're expecting to be more fireworks to unfold here in the Portuguese Grand Prix. It's the factory Aprilia star Marco Bezzecchi looking for his 2nd win of 2025. Bez on pole in Portimao.